is amazing. And I love to celebrate that Benji knows how to find the exact perfect songs for the most obscure of my sermons and services. It's wonderful. We're so lucky. Oh, you all. I love the irony that we're talking about technology in times when technology and utilities and stuff have failed us, and that we're doing it over technology. The metaphor is not lost, and both delights and concerns me, and how much are we manifesting in this world. But the truth is I've been resisting writing this service for a long time. I love to preach about current topics, especially where there are moral questions for us to consider, and AI has all of that. AI, which stands for artificial intelligence and is everywhere now, from our customer service chats to, I just learned, did you know this? The only way that you can turn off AI from your Google chat is to write the word porn in it. It will not go there. And otherwise, every time you Google it, AI comes up. It is in artwork for this service in Compass. It is all of the places. It's in our doctor's offices. It's in the places that we're doing business. I resisted this service because it was still evolving and changing rapidly, and I am nowhere close to an expert on this. And unlike many social issues of our day, there is not a clear liberal position on this. There is a huge gap between different audiences. Some of you are using it regularly and love it. Some of you are using it very reluctantly, and some of you don't know anything about it or are not using it at all. I already know some of you are waiting to tell me how I should feel about it, and I've already gotten several emails this week before the service telling me how many of you are feeling about it. But mainly, I didn't think I could preach on something where I was not only not an expert, I probably know about 10% of what I should know to even write a sermon. So I was resisting it. And then the Pope came in and he ruined my plan, that damn Pope. In late May, Pope Leo issued his first encyclical, which is a theological position paper, if you will, on AI. What an interesting topic for him to make his first major statement. And then you dig in further. The Pope was highly inspired and took his own name from Pope Leo XIII, who first articulated what is now known as the social doctrine of the Church. You see, that Pope Leo's first encyclical was about the Industrial Revolution in 1891. He reflected on the impact of the Industrial Revolution on society, the economy, and politics. What was he concerned about? Well, that machines would take human jobs, make us value human input less, and would create a world where the pursuit of the dollar would have a detrimental effect on the lives of real humans. Does that sound familiar? Now, that Leo was greatly criticized for this encyclical for spending time on worldly matters. But as this Pope Leo says, that he responded, quote, responded with realism and wisdom, saying that the proclamation of the gospel cannot overlook the concrete lives of people. I am heartened that this Pope also sees that as his role. So industrialization ended up happening, and of course it did change the world. But also what ended up happening were some limits to it. It brought us reforms as unions, labor laws, a 40-hour work week, weekends, and no child labor, so that you could say the Industrial Revolution created a moral response. So what does today's revolution call us to do? And I want to be clear that there isn't a clear line from the Industrial Revolution to now. We've had moments all along where technology has been seen as either the world's great doom or the world's great savior. When home computers came out, there was an outcry about being able to research without using a card catalog, about kids going out to play and not being able to think on their own. Decades later, I'm seeing limits on screen time for our kids, immediate access of information, and none of us can say that we're still on the bandwagon to resist computers. Well, maybe a few can, but they're more ubiquitous than what we thought they would be even. I think this is where we are with AI. As much as possible, even including you, Owen, who want it to go away, it is here to stay. The question is, how will we use it? What will be our checks on its power? And how do we still affirm our morality in the face of it? Now, Pope Leo's encyclical on AI is over 100 pages long, so it is absurd to think that I can sum it all up. But his main concerns are that the value of our humanity is not reduced to our productivity, efficiency, and capitalistic output. Instead, he calls on us to remember that we are humans who have value based on our mere existence. As embodied human beings, the question is not whether AI makes us better. The question he posits is whether our lives have meaning regardless of what AI does to our productivity. Now, the response from Silicon Valley was akin to, well, isn't that quaint? These computer scientists, who notably tend to be secular or atheists, don't necessarily have a framework of a God with original design or creative design. But some of my favorite podcasts who talk about spirituality and technology also found these Silicon Valley folks speaking out of both sides of their mouths as they talk about AI in some very existential, maybe even theological ways. Some of them call AI our salvation, even. They see that it will solve the issues of humanity and create a kind of utopia. Others, even some who are working on it, see it as an existential threat that will become so intelligent that it may take over the world and replace us as humans, even with dystopian endings such as the destruction of humankind. I would be curious what you all think. Is AI our salvation, our downfall, or like many things, the nuanced gray area in between? I would posit that how some people see AI is an indication of their worldview. For some of us, we would call that their theology or beliefs. So, for example, within the world, there's a term in AI for people who are accelerationists. They want to roll all the applications for AI as fast as possible, and their worldview or their hope is that the goal is that AI can make us something called transhumanist, almost a melding of the machine world and the human world, with the goal of having us live longer, optimize our productivity, and even prevent human suffering. One of the Pope's comments is that tragedy and suffering is part of what makes us human. Another term that's going around is called long-termism, and some see that as some kind of religion. It's the belief that people in the future have just as much value as the people here in the present. In other words, AI is one of the most novel things that we could be working on because it could allow people in the future to live forever, or to live without pain, or to have so much productivity, or to be their very, very best selves. They believe that we owe that vision all of our time and intent more than we owe it to the people who exist right now. Their debate is, where do we put our energies as a society? On the people who are suffering right now, or on the technology that could ease the suffering of people who live hundreds of years in the future? And, of course, on this day where we are aware of water consumption, this does tie into the topic of water consumption and the assumption that we'll have an environment that can sustain us hundreds of years. An issue that I know that many of us really struggle around AI is how much water the processing systems use to run it. And often without our consent, it's just running in more and more centers and more water. So there is the moral question of what end are we trying to solve, and what end may we end up creating? These are massive discussions and issues. So I would say that it is a topic for faith communities, because these are worldviews, existential questions about humanity, and discussions about the value and meaning of being human. It asks who has value, why do they matter, and at what cost? My challenge for us, beloveds, is to use the topic of AI as an opportunity to engage as members of a faith that encourages free thinking, challenges the status quo, and makes ethical decisions that reflect our consciences. It is especially to do this for a model that is managed by billionaires who are profiting off of this technology and making so many of these important decisions about its future. Personally, I don't think it's the devil, nor do I think it's our salvation. I often find it to be a useful tool. Sometimes I find it to be kind of eerily scary of a tool. But I am also clear that it is a tool of late-stage capitalism that has no inherent morality built into it. So, in the absence of a program that inherently has no moral compass, what do we do to create our own? And that's one of the things that I've done in my own use of AI. I've had to kind of create my own rules to say that I'm using it ethically. I have said that I need to make sure that the voice that I'm presenting to you is always my own. And when it's not, I credit AI for it. And I have to figure out what are the ways that feel authentic and what are the ways where it feels like that cheat code that Owen was talking about it. But my moral code is truly me making it up as I go along, as is yours, and as it is with my ministerial colleagues. It is an understatement to say that this is being hotly debated in ministerial circles right now. And it's even a debate we have in your own UUCP staff. We have people who use it a lot, some who aren't using it at all, mostly due to some of those moral concerns. And I want to be clear that despite the title of this service, no, a robot did not write this sermon, and hopefully never will. Like so many issues in this world, I turn to my Unitarian Universalist values to inform my perspectives. I want to explore how our values of love and interdependence and pluralism and justice, equity, generosity, and transformation influence my decisions, and hopefully yours. I lean on them to help me make meaning in a world that feels more and more technological and foreign. I lean on the ideas of covenant and community to prioritize my human relationships, and I do my very best to human in this increasingly inhumane world, while still using the tools that technology have to make my world function efficiently. So for generations, our ancestors have created new tools that have promised to save us or threatened to undo us. AI is the one for our time. I think the real question is not, what can this technology do, but who will we become while using it? We have to use our own values, our own morals, our own conscience to make our own decisions. But it is irresponsible to just abdicate our morals to a machine. And while I understand what AI has to offer in our lives, I challenge you to still center what makes us ultimately human. AI cannot love, grieve, forgive, wonder, or choose compassion. It cannot sit beside a dying friend, laugh until it cries, or stand up for justice because its heart has been broken. Our faith reminds us that our worth has never come from our efficiency. It comes from our capacity for relationship, meaning, and love. Now, it is not reasonable that you will all reach the same conclusions about AI. Let's be honest, we don't have the same conclusions about many things, and this we start in wildly different positions in. But I do encourage you to be intentional about it. Consider not only is this useful, but also how can I use it to deepen justice? Does it strengthen community? Does this help me become the person I want to be? In a world increasingly shaped by artificial intelligence, maybe the most faithful act is to practice authentic humanity even more consciously, with more curiosity, with more courage, and even more love than ever before. Our technology is growing rapidly. May our humanity, our compassion, our justice, and our ethics grow even stronger. So might it be.